Capstone 3 in the final report package. This is group 3 for IT Capstone 4983 in the final report once again. So I'm just going to hop in here. My name is Andrew Dunstar. I'm the team lead for group 3. I have Siobhan, Hayden, George, and Daniel on my team as well, and you'll get to meet them as this presentation continues on. So starting off the project executive summary, these first lock, right, cybersecurity is a broad field. It deals primarily with creating safe experiences for technology users across multiple platforms. The website hardening process is specifically about protecting websites from unauthorized access and malicious attacks, as broad as that is, right? So once we actually got into the project, this hardening capstone idea was taking a real world scenario, a business's website server, and scanning it, finding vulnerabilities, and then protecting it from ongoing attacks. Now that's the executive summary over. I will pass it over to George to go over the background.
Thank you, Ross. The cybersecurity website hardening team is a group of 5 students in their final semester of the computer science program at Kennesaw State University. The team has spent the of computer security, including network security, cryptography, and malware analysis. As we've approached graduation, the team has chosen to focus on the website hardening, which involves securing website applications and server against various cyber attacks. The team has decided to work on the project that will allow us to apply our knowledge and skills in the real-world setting. We plan to work with the local business and organizations to assess the security of their website and provide recommendations for improving their security posture. The team is excited to apply what we've learned over the past 3 years into the semester and positively impact by helping the organization protect themselves. The team used the best practice, including disabling unused services on the Red Hat OS and Apache modules and restricting database access to certain IP addresses. They also plan to install and prevent unauthorized access to the network and use intrusion detection systems to look for any potential system security holes. In addition, the team will ensure that the systems are updated frequently with the newest patches and software releases and implement access controls to grant only authorized personnel access to the system. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Siobhan.
Thanks, George. I'll be talking about the project outcomes and achievements, starting with our protected server. Our main outcome for the protected server was 100% uptime, no successful attacks or logins to the Red Hat server. We did, however, experience an unauthorized login to WordPress via an overlooked default password. This was quickly rectified with a forced logout of all users and a credentials change. Vulnerability analysis on our target server was our first stop there. We found an initial issue with reaching that host, which appeared to be due to misconfigured ports. Scans throughout the final project phase did consistently show multiple open ports and no firewall protection. Additionally, device, OS, and SL cert information was obtained via port scan on day 1. Attempts at penetration started with checking for default credentials, but we weren't able to find any there. DDoS, HPing3, and Smurf attacks were attempted, but they were unsuccessful. Ultimately, penetration of the target server was unsuccessful. Moving on to analysis of our protected server, risk assessment did find several outdated software packages and outdated patches. It was also noted that there were no access controls, firewall protection, or intrusion detection in place. Our solutions implementation plan then divided our next plan into 3 main areas: software updates, access controls, and server monitoring. Our server protection plan for our host server was then managed through the use of IP tables for firewall, Nagios for IDS protection, SE Linux for access control, and then a new user credentials plan. Lastly, for exploitation of the target server, our plan was to make use of tools such as Nmap, Nikto, Wireshark, and Burp Suite for scanning, data gathering, and possible breach of the server. With that, I'll pass it back to Ross.
Awesome. Thanks, Siobhan, for that overview. I appreciate it. So I'll go over the project planning and management summary. So overall, we used various tactics, if you'll find out through the PMBOK guide of project management. Clearly defined roles, specific project objectives, milestones that are tied to timelines, and then a risk management plan, collaboration and communication plan, and various documentation to support each task. So the team followed good project management practices, as I've highlighted. We identified risks early, developed strategies early on to manage them, and used plenty of tools for collaboration, communication, and ongoing project documentation. Now, with that said, there were some hurdles that we had to climb. And then looking back on it, lessons learned on what could have been better. Task distribution, we would kind of jump in meetings, find out there were more tasks than initially planned for, and would have to delegate within meetings. Progress monitoring also done through MS Project, which does not allow for real-time updates and collaboration like Word and PowerPoint do within our collaboration tool, which is Microsoft Teams. So maybe finding something less manual, as well as for quality control. We didn't really explicitly go over that. It was more of a manual process prior to deliverable submission and tying it back to rubrics and so forth. The project process itself and the timeline. So there was initialization of the project. We all joined a group into group 3. We then chose a project or assignment, I should say, and then we began drafting the initial plan. Right from there, it was over phases. Phase 1 was scanning for the initial scanning on the server itself, looking for any weaknesses, what we could actually go over. That included a bunch of documentation, presenting to the sponsor, and including the Gantt chart and keeping our showcase website up to date. Right, so phase 2 has a lot of phase 1, but we're actually implementing everything that we scanned for to actually put in a hardening strategy, which is Siobhan has actually talked about this previously as well. So I'll move on to phase 3, which is the red and blue team phase. We were actually monitoring and pen testing, monitoring ours for uptime and pen testing neighboring groups server to actually try and attack and get through that, right? Which ultimately resulted in this final report package, and including this presentation itself. Team contributions. So this is part of the final report. I think it's hard to put it into 2 slides and just overview quickly about how much work the team has done, right? So you can look at bullet points, and perhaps this does capture what some people have done. For the most part, it doesn't, right? We all had to jump on these meetings. We all had to just step up where if some person was sick, or maybe a deadline came in quicker, or those previous tasks we didn't know about. So I do want to give hats off to this team. Everyone's worked pretty well and collaborated for all to be so remote and going on as well. So workload summary, we've got a total of 412 hours. I've got 100, we counted 103 in phase 1, 136 in phase 2, and 173 in milestone 3 or phase 3. Awesome. From that, I will pass it on to Danny for the next section. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. So I'm going to touch on our team reflection on our overall project experience. So collaboration was a critical factor in the success of our project. We made sure that we established communication channels early. This allowed us to share updates, progress, and challenges to keep everyone on the same page. Another key to our success was identifying roles and responsibilities for each team member. This ensured that our tasks and deliverables were understood. And finally, we had team meetings, which helped to promote collaboration. This was allowed us to discuss our different challenges, our progress, and updates, and we were able to resolve any issues collaboratively that did arise during the course of our project. So here again, we have another slide on our team reflection. We used GroupMe as our primary communication tool. GroupMe provided a platform for instant messaging, file sharing, and overall collaboration. We held both general and technical discussions on the platform. GroupMe allowed us to communicate quickly, share updates, and discuss any project-related queries. It was easy to use and facilitated most of our communication. Next, we have Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams was used for messaging, file sharing, and video conferencing. It allowed us to work on documents in real time and store our files in the File tab or any other project-related documents or reports. The integration with Microsoft Office allowed us to use Word and PowerPoint. This helped us to make comments and track changes. And Microsoft Teams video was used for our team meetings as well as presentations that we held. And as far as other experiences, I can reflect on our progress tracking system. We used this to make sure that both our milestones and other deadlines were being met. This helped the team to identify any delays early on and take the corrective actions. It also provided visibility to our project sponsor about the project status, and overall, we didn't really have much trouble collaborating. We just created a system and stuck to it. So at this time, I'm going to pass it over to Hayden.
Thanks for the transition, Danny. I'm going to be talking about some of the challenges that Group 3 faced throughout this Capstone project. And I'll start off by saying at the outset of this project, we were kind of expecting most of our challenges to be more on the personal side. But as time went on, we kind of realized that it was actually going to be majorly technical issues. And we've kind of separated those 2 categories, like all of our challenges we've faced, into those 2 categories, and we're going to be talking about them going forward. So the main technical challenge that reared its head for our team throughout this project was this Red Hat subscription issue that we have covered extensively in Milestone 2, but I'll briefly highlight it here. It was a recurring error that constantly popped up for everything we were trying to do, whether it was Yum install, Nagios installs, or really most of our basic updates. We had some back and forth with the IT team at KSU, and we kind of believed the error to be unfixable, but through a lot of collaboration and just brute force, we were able to kind of narrow it down to the lack of a active subscription. We're able to resolve this by unregistering the faulty account and re-registering our account with Red Hat. And then from there, we're able to pretty much proceed with smooth sailing. This next slide just pretty much goes into in depth on that Red Hat subscription error. It's kind of here just to showcase it, but I won't highlight anymore. Now I'm going to discuss our PuTTY and Global Protect errors that were also a major problem for our group throughout this milestone. PuTTY and Global Protect both offered kind of errors that were intertwined with each other as they were related to our VPN that we were provided. One of the two would have a critical error, providing the other one to fail. And this led to each of our members having to reinstall both of these applications over and over. Each time that caused our IP address, our Global Protect VPN IP to change, causing us to have to go in and update our IP tables firewall. So this caused a lot of issues for our group. Now I'm going to cover some of our personal challenges. The main thing that really kind of got our group throughout this project was like just everyone's constant busy schedules, with everyone being a full-time student, having a full-time career. So oftentimes, if someone would be sick, we might have to make up for them in that meeting, have another meeting later in the week to catch them back up. But Group 3 collaborated very well on this account. And like I said, technical issues proved to be our main problem, with us being able to overcome nearly every personal challenge that came our way. And then lastly, I want to kind of touch on our areas to improve. And this kind of goes for Group 3, our individual members, as well as some things we believe for the IT program as a whole at KSU. We found that it would be more helpful if there had been more hands-on activities throughout the courses. We found a lot of our coursework to be very structured, very controlled environments. Like we were working in a Nelnet environment with specific numbered instructions telling you what to type, what to click. And so when we were kind of thrown into the frying pan, it took us a lot of struggling at the beginning. However, admittedly, that also helped us learn quite a lot. However, we still ultimately think that some more hands-on application throughout the coursework would be very helpful when it comes to this final course. And then this covers our Gantt chart for phase 3, milestone 3. It's kind of hard to see from here, but it pretty much covers all of our activities. And we have the full PDF version of this on our Wix Showcase website for your viewing pleasure as well.
Awesome. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Yeah. Awesome.